We've seen the erosion of vital democratic and constitutional institutions in this country over the last year, the Revenue Service, the prosecuting authority, to name but two. Have you seen the erosion of institutions in your own country under Trump? If not, why has this not happened?
Well, I do think there has been this erosion. I think the Republican Party has basically approved all of his attacks on the media, on the opposing party as basically treasonous, to American values. So that's all very disappointing. I think that basically the institutions have held up because they are pretty deeply embedded, but I think that if we get 8 years of Trump as opposed to 4, the damage will be very substantial to the independence of the courts, to the independence of the bureaucracy. Many things he's at the moment trying to politicize the Federal Reserve by appointing, I think, a guy who is basically a political crony of his to the Federal Reserve Board. And that's an example of institutional decay when you're not appointing a respected economist, but basically a political ally.
Is there a way to prevent this institutional erosion that you referred to?
I think that the only way that you can protect the independence of institutions is politically. They're not going to be independent unless voters themselves want that independence, and that means you got to organize and mobilize and push back against the populist forces that are trying to undermine those institutions. It's ultimately a matter of politics.
And then very lastly, do you have a view on this country, its position in Africa, its position in the world, and its development since 1994, which you've, I suppose, closely watched since the advent of democracy?
I think that everybody had great hopes for South Africa, that it really would become a multiracial democracy. The transition, I think everybody, myself included, regarded as something of a miracle, that it was as peaceful as it was, and that it preserved, in a way, what had been good and strong about the old system, that is to say, its institutions, and sought racial reconciliation. I think right now, in a sense, what's been going on, this erosion of institutions, is understandable because the old system excluded, great majority of the country, and so they want a piece of political power. So it's not surprising that this kind of erosion should take place. But I think it's important that the country maintain a sense that we want inclusive institutions, but we want institutions one way or the other. Nobody likes corruption. Nobody likes a president that steals and basically derails the economy for private gain. And that's something that should be shared, I think, among all South Africans.
But you think there is hope?
There's always hope. I think, the ideal remains there, and it's a matter of, as I said, of politics. And if you don't have hope, you're not going to engage in politics that will protect, the way you want your democracy to be.